If you guys happen to have watched the semifinals match between the US and Australia, you guys might have witnessed one of the most tragic events that could have happened to a player in OWC. Now, before I get into exactly what happened that was so bad, let me give a little bit of backstory on how this match went. Now, like I said, this match was between Australia and United States in the winner's bracket for the semifinals. And this was probably one of the most anticipated matches so far, considering how it's the second seed versus the third seed in the entire tourney. And not only are they highly seeded, both of these teams are the powerhouses of the OWC this year. So now, how did the match go exactly? Well, as you can imagine, the predictions for this match were pretty close, but overall, most people were rooting for the US, thinking that they would win this match overall. And I even personally predicted that the US would win 6-3 against Australia. And for a little spoiler, I was almost spot on. But how did each map go? Well, for the first map, the US had first pick and they chose Nomad 5, which they ended up winning. Which, no surprise there, usually you tend to win your own picks most of the time, especially if you're a really skilled team like the US. And then next up was Australia, and let's just say this was the start of some good old DT abuse. And now you might be thinking, DT abuse against the US? Is that even possible? Because the US is quite skilled at DT considering how they have really talented speed players and DT players in general, especially from players such as Window Life. But let me tell you, Australia kind of bullied them when it came to DT, considering how they won literally every single DT pick against the US. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Now, Australia picked DT2, which they ended up winning, obviously. The US then picked Hard Rock 2, which they won. Australia then picked DT3, which they ended up winning. And by now you can kinda guess how this is going. Absolutely nobody is trading picks whatsoever so far, and that continues on for the next couple of maps. Which, in my opinion, this match was just a little bit lackluster if I had to comment on it, because nothing really exciting happened. They just kept winning their own picks, which, I mean, isn't a bad thing, it's just nothing exciting really happened. So it was just a little bit lackluster in the grand scheme of things. But the match itself was still good regardless. I just wish it would have been a little bit more entertaining. But as the maps went on, the score eventually came to 4-4, being tied up, and Australia now have used all of the DT picks, which they have won every single DT pick for all of their points that they currently have. And so far, not a single team has lost any of their picks, nor have gotten break point at all. But now tied up 4-4, it is the US's pick, which they then pick Nomad 4, which if you know anything about the US, they are really good tech players, so the US ended up winning. Not by a huge landslide, but by almost 500,000 points, which is still very good. So now the score is 5-4 in favor of the US. So now it comes down to Australia's final chance at trying to make it to tiebreaker. All Australia needs to do is win this next pick, and they go to tiebreaker and potentially win against the US, which Australia has never beaten the US in any OWC ever. So they could be making history here if they happen to win the tiebreaker, but they need to get through the next map first to even try and get that. Which it's Australia's pick, and they decide to go with Nomad 1, which they thought would be their best bet. But like I said in the beginning, something so tragic happens that I wouldn't wish this on my worst OWC enemy. Now, everything was going good for Australia. They were slightly in the lead going into the second half of the map, and it looked like Australia could actually make it to tiebreaker against the US. But as everybody was watching the stream, it looked like Bancho had died for the tourney client. Or at least that's what everybody initially thought, but it turned out to be something so terrible for one of the Australian players. That player happened to be Mrekk, the #1 player in OWC and one of the players on Team Australia. Now, what is one of the worst things that could happen to an OWC player during a tournament? Yeah, that's right, your internet. Your internet is one of the most important things since you're in a multi-lobby. And well, obviously you need internet to be in a multi-lobby, and let's just say things turned out terribly for Mrekk. So what exactly happened to Mrekk? Well, from a tweet that Mrekk made after the match with the US, apparently his power went out during the match, which is one of the most tragic and unfortunate events that could ever happen to a tourney player in general, and it's even worse since it's OWC, the OWC World Cup, one of the biggest tournaments ever, with your country on the line for potentially getting the first ever win for your country. So there's a lot at stake. And just as the map got to the halfway point, that's when it happened. Mrekk's power went out mid-match, which it left his teammates trying their best to possibly hold on to any hope they had to try and take it to tiebreaker. But as unfortunate as it is, the rest of the team just couldn't hold together on this map. And even if Mrekk had not disconnected at all and played through the map, it still would have been a US win regardless, because the US just had better combos overall. Utami had one of the biggest combos whenever the client started working again, and the supporting combos from the rest of the US team was just bigger in general compared to that of Australia, and the gap was already growing way too big, and with such little map left, it was practically over for Australia, and the US ended up winning 6-4 against Australia. And now, a lot of people during the match and even after the match were really upset by what happened, but there are rules in the tournament for such things like this, and well, it was already too late for Mrekk to try and join back or to try and abort and replay the map. It was already too late as it was already halfway through the map, so they had to go with whatever score that Mrekk was able to save, which even with the score that Mrekk managed to save, it still would have been a US win regardless. But a lot of people were really upset, and understandably so. I mean, this is probably one of the worst things that could ever happen to any OWC player, especially during one of the biggest OWC tournaments ever, so I understand the frustration. But in the end, the US ended up winning this match against Australia, sending them down to the losers bracket, where they'll have to try and fight their way back up to hopefully at least get a top 3 finish. So let's just hope Australia still has the willpower to try and make it to the top 3, and maybe they can even go further than the top 3. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this whole incident that happened in this OWC match. If you happened to be there when it was happening live, what were your guys' reactions to what was going on? But before I ended this video off, I just wanted to add a few extra things. Now, I'm sure you all know who Nerdiness is. He makes a lot of OWC documentaries, or at least did before he took a break from content creation. But he is still somewhat active on Twitter, and one of the tweets that he tweeted out after the OWC match was quite interesting, and this genuinely could be a curse that's going on. Now, in the tweet, it says, 2018 USA versus UK Grand Finals, Vax's power goes out, which the US led 5-4 during the disconnection. 3 years later, in 2021, the USA versus Germany in winners finals. Fancy Lad's power goes out, and it was tied 6-6 during the disconnection. And now, in 2024, USA versus Australia in the winners semifinals. Mrekk's power goes out while the US led 5-4 during the disconnection. And it always seems to happen with the US. Now, to be fair, the previous years it happened to the US players, but this year it actually happened to the opposing team. So maybe the curse is taking a different route this year, but there definitely seems to be some sort of curse going on where every 3 years, where somebody's power just seems to go out for whatever reason. So I guess there's an OWC curse that's been going on for quite some time now. Will we see this again in another 3 years? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see if the curse continues, but just thought I should throw that in there just for some fun. And now to end things off on a not so sad note, I wanted to talk about an OWC streamer that was doing a watch party while the OWC match was going on. That streamer being JohnPorler, which I'm sure a good bit of you guys know who that is, as I mentioned them in my last video, and they're an up-and-coming OWC content creator that seems to be doing pretty well, especially on Twitch. Their Twitch is popping off right now, which you should go follow their Twitch, by the way. They're almost at 1K followers, so go give JohnPorler some support and help him reach 1K. That guy's the GOAT. Oh, sorry, Mr. Toaster Guy is the GOAT. But if you happen to be in JohnPorler's stream, that shit was a fever dream to say the least. I'll put a little bit of a clip montage here just to show you guys what his stream was like, and it was something.
Fashion Australia.
USA! Oh my god! Who remembers when I was banned? This reminds me of when I was banned. Tekken 2! The king! My goat! My goat! Oh my gosh! My goat! Bring it in home! Goat! Oh, Tommy! Oh, Tommy! The undisputed pound for pound champ! Holy shit! Don't think you understand!
Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all, just ain't specific enough. Once
Actually, man, they fucking spammed double time, so they couldn't get you in there. Come on! Oh my god, my goats! My fucking goats! Win the line! Oh my fucking god! No fucking way! Oh my fucking god!
And not only did all of that happen, he managed to get the entire US team to change their profile pictures to him saluting without a shirt on, in shades. And well, I guess you can say he's kind of popped off now, especially on the Twitch side of things, and he's a lot more known than he was before. So congrats to you, Mr. JohnPorler. You are popping off, dude, and I love to see it, man. Keep up the grind, dude. But also, Mr. Toaster Guy, I have a proposition for you. Now, during your stream, I was listening in and somebody asked, how do I get a mutual with you, Mr. JohnPorler? And you said, I don't know, you gotta figure it out. You gotta intrigue me. And well, how about this, Mr. JohnPorler? I challenge you to an OWC 1v1. Now, if you accept, we can discuss the exact details of said 1v1. My DMs are always open on Discord. But if I win this 1v1, not only do I get a mutual from you, but I also get VIP in your Twitch chat. Or, if you're feeling kind enough, Twitch mod. But either way, it works. And now you can make your own demands if you win, but for whoever loses, the other person chooses the loser's PFP for the rest of the year, which isn't that bad when you think about it. There's only about a month and a half left in this year, give or take. So let me know if you're up for that challenge, Mr. JohnPorler, Toaster Guy. And everybody, make sure to tag him down below in the comments so he sees this video. We'll see how he responds, if he's not too chicken. But that's gonna be it for this video, so thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you did, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are slowly inching our way closer to my goal of 5k subs, so I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a sub and help support me on my goal. So once again, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys have a good rest of your nights or days, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.